Welcome to our Builder Innovator Summit Presenter Spotlights. My name is Sharnice Houston, Program Manager of the Builder Innovator team. And today we are excited to introduce Nate Robert-Eze, founder and CEO of VSN. Nate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So can you briefly introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your experience in the industry?
Yeah, so I'm Nate Robert-Eze, founded a company called VSN back in 2020. My background is in urban planning and real estate development and urban design. So my education is in, and then I went off to work for a few architecture firms for about 5 years. Got a lot of experience there in terms of, just doing a lot of, work for developers and work in communities. And so I realized that, there's a huge need to really showcase projects in a visual way and tell stories in a visual way. And even more so with projects that weren't out of the ground yet. And so I ventured into doing architectural visualization, in which it created a company called Render that actually does 3D renderings and animations. From there, we just wanted to solve bigger problems. So essentially, we went from doing just 3D renderings and fly-through videos and animations to actually doing VR, interactive experiences for sales centers and things of that nature. So now we're building our own softwares and sort of working with some, big time real estate developments around the country. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, that sounds very, very fascinating. I'm wondering what kind of pushed you to start and create VSN?
So actually, it was during my professional experience. The company I worked for was called Meticulous Design, Design and Architecture, and they had amazing design capabilities. Like one of the founders was really, really good. Like this guy, traveled to Dubai. He would do all these designs and things like this. But we were losing a lot of our local projects because in some of these cities and municipalities, you're kind of only as good as the last project that you worked on that is out of the ground, right? So we're losing all of these projects to companies that we thought we had a better sort of design capabilities than because they couldn't see, how good we were. And so I just figured, how about if I take all of our projects and just bring them into 3D space so at least, they can see our talent. And it worked. We started getting projects back to back to back to back to back. And so this sort of transformed the company. It transformed sort of the way that we showcased projects in our portfolio. And then I started thinking, like, who else would need this? So I started working with some real estate developers. I started doing my company stuff on the side. And it was tremendously useful for real estate developers as well, because again, you can have a piece of land and you can have this great grand idea of what you want to build there, you want to do there. And you can't bring these people into your mind. So you need sort of like that tool in the middle to kind of showcase to people what you're trying to do to get either investments, to get buy-in from the city, or to, get people to live there. So I just found took an interest in doing that.
That's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. From your perspective, what are some key shifts you think that home building industry leaders should be preparing for in the next 5 to 10 years, especially with the advancements in VR and AR and digital visualization?
I think the first thing to note is that last year, I believe 23% more people bought properties sight unseen, so off plan. So basically, they didn't go there to have to actually make a purchasing decision and actually buy. So this is one thing that I think people need to really kind of put their eyes on. Also, the advancements in AI are tremendous. I mean, we've seen it go from just ChatGPT, the chat, bots that you're talking back and forth to more of an agentic type AI that you give a task and it goes out and does it. Does all this amazing research and things like this and brings you back information. Mm-hmm. And so I think those things integrated and infused with some of the visual tools that are also sort of becoming tremendously useful, I would say more accessible to real estate developers and real estate professionals, is going to cause for a huge increase in more people buying properties sight unseen. because a lot of people are ready to make those decisions, whether, they want to buy a property or not, without having to go there. They just don't have the tools to do so. So as it's becoming more accessible and these tools are becoming more easier to build, I think real estate professionals need to really, really tap in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really honestly just like fascinated by what you do. I've seen some of the work that you've done in the projects in your portfolio. I'm wondering, are there any misconceptions that builders have or developers have when they're working with you? Anything that maybe they think that you offer or provide, but you actually do something different? Or is there anything like that that you kind of
Yeah, there's quite a few. I can name off several. The first, I mean, the biggest one is like the Matterport thing. Of course, we use a ton of different tools to kind of build these experiences, but a lot of times when they're looking at our 3D experiences, sometimes for even properties that are not built, I'll hear things like, "Hey, is that a Matterport?" Stuff like that, just because that's the most popular sort of 3D
Yeah.
tour. Exactly.
Mm.
And it's like, no, this is a 3D walkthrough. It's not necessarily built yet. And go, wow, they can't believe it. Um, Another thing is that it's extremely expensive. We're very competitive in the marketplace in terms of like what we charge for our services.
Mhm.
And we realize that, what we charge is a very small portion of the upside of what you get from actually having those things available to customers and to buyers and to renters, leasers, whoever. Um, and so relative to, the upside, the price is, not as bad as a lot of people think. And sometimes when I tell them the price, they're like, "Wow, I didn't, I thought it would be a lot more than that." So again, because of advancements and sort of breakthroughs that we've been able to achieve on the 3D side of like what we can do and what we can produce,
Mhm.
we're able to take those to market and bring them to properties that in probably 3 years ago or 4 years, 5 years ago, probably wasn't possible because it was too expensive. But now, things have gotten a lot more economical.
Hmm. Sounds good. Okay,
Mhm.
so in reference to the Builder Innovator Summit, you will be presenting on a panel titled Winning with Eye Candy, Flyovers, Streetscapes, and More. And I want to know, what do you expect for the builders who attend that session? What do you expect that they'll take away or learn from that session?
Well, I can say that we've done hundreds of fly-throughs. We've produced thousands of rendering images. And so we look at it from a different angle, right? Again, it's more of a storytelling thing. What do you want people to feel? Not necessarily see, but what do you want people to feel when they're experiencing these images or walkthroughs or fly-throughs or whatever it is?
Mhm.
And so, I think anyone who's listening to that conversation will get um, a depth, I would say, of information about what people want, and whenever you're selling something, I think real estate, of course, sales is one of the biggest parts of real estate, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever you're selling something, you have to really understand what people really want, right? A lot of people market to what people say they want, but whatever people say they want sometimes is not what they really want. People want security. That's what they really want. People want, you know, a sense of camaraderie with their community, things like this. That's what they really want. And so we found ways to sort of simulate that into a 3D experience to where they can actually feel that. And so again, some of these small tidbits of like, you know just understanding the nuances of what comes with putting these types of projects together and these types of experiences together is what I think people can expect.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a good point. I mean, I think it's very important that builders keep in mind their target audience, their customer, their
Mhm.
client, the consumer that they're building the house for, what they want, what they need. So I think that's very important that you mentioned that and that you are putting that in the forefront of this presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nate, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing you present at the event.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a great time for sure.
Yes, awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, viewers, please stay tuned for more presenter interviews as we get closer to our event in April. All right, thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Cheers.